Hey guys, Raging Rashaka here. Going to do a little React video to the big event that happened with Piratesoftware a couple of days ago. I actually recorded this once before and decided to re-record it. There was some technical difficulties in the middle of it, plus it was insanely long, and I really just want to get this video kind of trimmed down a little bit. Plus, I think some of the controversy over this has died down, but I'd already put the work into the video, so figured I would just go ahead and reshoot it, make it a little smaller. This is my first React video, so bear with me if things seem a little off as I'm getting to learn how to go about doing these. But for those of you that may not have caught it, or for those of you that have already seen this content, uh, this was a Dire Maul run on hardcore World of Warcraft, specifically with Piratesoftware, Thor from who is Piratesoftware, and they went through the run. A couple of people died in the run, and there's been a lot of controversy over this being all Thor's fault. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I'm not saying that he's without fault, but I will say that there were many things that caused this demise, this downfall, that happened far outside of what he was doing. And personally, if I was in a similar situation, I probably would have reacted exactly the way that he did. I feel like this entire group had a whole lot of problems from beginning to end. They had a previous run that they did before this one that almost resulted in some people dying. They got pretty deep into this zone and had to run out, and that one actually was Piratesoftware's fault. He got a little too high up the ramp and aggroed an ogre that they weren't prepared to fight yet, and kind of pulled a group in on top of them. They did all manage to get out on that one, but this one they didn't. And I think some of this is coming from people watching that previous run potentially. Plus, this feed here is from Yamato's death, his point of view. This is his rogue that he's playing, and he is just like all about trying to take down Piratesoftware as far as being in this video goes. I know there's been some follow-up stuff to this afterwards, but this guy is like really aggressive in trying to put all the blame on Piratesoftware, and I just don't necessarily think that's the case. For those of you that are unfamiliar with me or haven't seen any of my WoW stuff previously, a lot of it's been in live stream. So, if you weren't there, you probably didn't go and watch any of the video afterwards. But I've been playing World of Warcraft since beta. I played religiously, hundreds and hundreds of hours a month, um, pretty much through halfway through Cataclysm content, and uh, I went back for every expansion after that, but I started getting kind of like dead points where I just wasn't enjoying the game as much. And then when they relaunched Classic, I went and got into that as well and played from the most of the way through Classic, and then played TBC Classic, Wrath Classic, and then roughly halfway through Cataclysm again. And imagine that, the thing that I hated 10 years ago, I still hate today. So, but yeah, so I've played this game a lot in original Classic playthrough. I was in one of the small percentages that actually cleared through Sunwell in old school content. So I try to play this game at a pretty high level. So I felt like there were some things that I've seen in this video that other people didn't really notice, some clarifications on how some of these pulls happened, who was actually at fault for them. Another thing that gives me a little bit of insight into this is I've also spent a significant amount of time raid leading, so I'm kind of used to looking for mistakes and watching where things are happening, things that people have done, and trying to figure out the root cause for it, and what can be done to fix it. So I'm going to point out some things here. Some of this is going to be things that you've already seen on Asmongold's feed or here on this feed, and some of it's going to be some things that none of these guys have talked about, and then I'm going to give some little pointers on what I think could have been changed to resolve some of the situations. So this is actually as they're going up into the center area here, right before everything starts going sideways. They're getting ready to pull a couple of mobs here, and the rogue is gonna go up and grab the key out of the box, and then they're gonna continue across the way. The main reason I'm starting a little early here is some of the arguments that this guy has is based off of the group talking too much. But I mean, honestly, if you've got a pretty decent group and you're just kind of cruising through a zone, that's what people do. If you're setting in Discord, you're just BSing, you know, carrying on about what's going on. I don't know how much this guy has a following on lots of players and really engaging his audience, but I do know with Thor over at Piratesoftware, you know, he's running an event for Humane Society during this video. He also has a large following, so I mean, he's having to entertain his audience in addition to playing the game. So I mean, he's kind of, I mean, this isn't his sole job, but he does kind of play games and talk at the same time for a portion of his living. So I would say he's pretty decent at doing that. And I mean, if this guy is streaming regularly at all, he should be, you know, kind of at that level as well. So the fact that he's getting upset because people are talking while doing a dungeon, especially when it's just kind of supposed to be laid back and, you know, you're not going in for super hardcore or anything like that. I really don't see what the problem is, but I just wanted to show the kind of talking at the beginning here. So we'll get started.
Agreement is that they have to pay into the charity. They can't pay me. So
I
get to do that stuff too. So you can get companies involved in it and actually have them like do something good and cool. And I think it's a nice way to handle that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also notice an influx of emails from a bunch of different charities around like December every year, trying to set up for.
Yeah, because the first 3 months are always the like kind of setup ones. Also,
yeah, so you could just see right back there, the warrior went up around the corner, tagged an ogre, and then came back with it, line of sighting it around that corner. So this is just something I wanted to point out, that he does know that is a thing that you can do. The sad part about it is that I think that ogre actually was melee, so it was irrelevant. He didn't really need to line of sight it to pull it back. He could have just pulled it out in the middle of the walkway. But I just wanted to point that out. We'll get into why here in a moment.
I can just get it now.
Yeah, get the cape.
Yeah, this one's a bit grim, but the most amount of, especially in animal care, the most amount of deaths that you see any time in animal care are in December. And it's just the natural cycle of like normal deaths. That's it. It's kind of how it works.
Wait,
so
what do you mean, like
January,
natural deaths? Or
Yep, natural deaths,
Yeah,
animals dying of old age, things like that. It almost always happens in December.
why is that?
Very common.
Yeah, why?
It's the same thing that happens in the wild. You have animals that will die during that time period, and it's so that when the spring comes by, they're not consuming a whole bunch of resources. It's a normal thing. People, it's the same for humans too. Yes.
So, for those of you that have already seen this footage before, we're about to get into the point. They've got the boss marked in front of them with a diamond. He's going to path off to the right. The first thing that kind of disturbs me a little bit about this group is the fact that they don't have someone that's kind of dedicated to keeping an eye on where that marker is going. I mean, passively it could be any of them, but none of them seem to really be paying attention to it. Usually, when I'm playing WoW, I play a hunter, so I would kind of post up in this general vicinity somewhere, and maybe even up as close as right around this pillar. And I will do my shot rotation while having my camera facing the other way so that I can pay attention to where this boss is at. Being next to the pillar kind of gets me a line of sight, so I don't have to worry about pulling much of anything. I just got to watch out for the guys that are back over here in the corner to make sure I don't back up too much and pull those guys. But yeah, the fact that they have nobody paying attention to where the boss is at, it's like, it's weird. Why did you mark it if you're not going to pay attention to where he's at?
Yeah,
Nice.
It's kind of sad, but that is what it is.
Yeah.
Cycle
So the
of
first
life.
thing you'll notice here as Ozzy is running in, I would actually like to point out as well, I don't know any of these guys personally. I've never gamed with any of them. I have never spoken with any of them directly. I've watched Piratesoftware's stream a handful of times. I'm not that I have anything against him, but I'm not necessarily his biggest fan. Like, I don't just go over there and hang out. So this isn't a big fluff piece. Just be like, oh my God, Piratesoftware is so cool. Why are you guys being so mean? That's not what's going on. I actually just kind of want to, talk the facts here. So Ozzy is moving. He's going to move forward here, and he's going to curve around like he's going to go behind this pillar here, and then for whatever reason, just kind of goes on down the ramp and starts fighting this mage lord. I know based on a previous pull that he did in this video that he has a crossbow with him, so he has the ability to do ranged attacks. So unless he's just out of arrows. I don't really know why he decided to go down this ramp and attack. What he should have done is line of sighted behind this pillar, stepped out, shot the mage or a whatever. The mage is probably the better idea because it's going to be the one that stays back, and then step back behind the pillar. The mastiffs would run up straight up to him and attack him, and then the mage lord would attempt to cast, fail at it, and then move up to get into line of sight, which would have completely resolved all of the issues that they had. So the fact that the warrior did not pull properly and get these guys off this ramp is the number one first thing that caused all of this problem. So if you really, really wanted to be the most direct about this, this was the Warriors' fail on not getting it up there, and even more so, the entire rest of the party for not saying, "Hey, why are we fighting on the ramp? Pull this shit back." So, like, I don't understand why people are freaking out about what Pirate did, because if this dude would have done his job properly, nothing else, none of the rest of what transpires here would have happened. So, moving on from that. The other big thing to pay attention to is this Snuppy guy. I don't know if he's new to the game or if he's just an idiot. I don't know. If he's new, I mean, I don't personally think you should be playing a game hardcore if you've never played the game before. Like, hardcore is not where you go and start a game. It's not even just a question of, oh, are you good enough to make it to 60? I mean, almost any idiot can level a character from 1 to 60 in WoW, even in old school WoW, without dying if you just try. It's not insanely hard. It's normally people being stupid or not paying attention or not focused that ends up getting them killed, or they try to do something a little gutsy and they pull too much and they die because they don't have a vanish or a feigned death or something along those lines. But I mean, if you're being careful and you're just like, your goal is, I want to make it to 60 and I don't want to die, that it's not a difficult feat. I mean, tons of people do it. I mean, hell, people are going in and raiding and completing entire raid zones and not dying. If you can raid and not die, you can level and not die. I mean, it's not difficult. So if this dude's new, he doesn't belong here, because the problem that you have with playing hardcore is it's not just a question of whether or not you can get to level 60 without dying, but it's all of the things that you can do to screw over other people that assume that you have some level of competency, which, I mean, I guess that's the caveat there, is the assumption that everyone else that you're playing with in WoW has some level of competency, which is ridiculous. But yeah, like, this dude absolutely does not need to be in this group. This druid, Snuppy, has no business being here. He is completely ignorant to the base mechanics of the game, how aggro works. And we'll cover more of that as we go. But so the first thing that I want you to watch as we get into this fight, yeah, fighting right here was a bad idea. But if you watch this group down here, which is the first group that they aggro and pull in, this leading hyena, the mastiff here, walks up, turns around, and starts walking away. He actually gets proximity aggroed. So when I was watching Asmongold's video, he was claiming that these guys were kind of like, oh, these guys got in combat, so it pulled those as well. This actually breaks line of sight right here. They're not going to pull. They walk up, they stop, they turn around, and they're starting to leave. Pay attention to where the druid goes here.
Have you seen the guy that's
so the rogue's up here fighting? He's staying on this end. Here
age?
Comes the druid, runs straight through. You can see the mastiffs have already turned around and they're starting to leave, but the druid goes through and gets down here. Look here. Line of sight is now broken. There is no line of sight restriction here anymore. So the fact that druid ran through
that's
and
great.
stood down there, bam, line of sight aggro. You can see the druid trying to correct, because I think he realized once he got down there, he's like, oh fuck, I'm really close to this stuff, and decides to change his position, but he's already fucked. And it's unfortunate because at this point in the game, druids really, really suck. I mean, if they can't get in the back and shred, they're basically just worthless. So yeah, it's a really unfortunate place. It's a really unfortunate for that particular class. But rogues also frequently will attack from behind, not just because of having some abilities that work from behind, but they also want to avoid the parries. So fighting from behind means less parries, which means more DPS. But this guy knows, he stays up front, and he's doing damage because he knows it's stupid to go back there and risk aggroing something.
Easy. I've seen this.
We
So
got
this
two,
pulls the
so
extra
focus
group.
this.
Yeah.
So now we still don't have the boss up here. Like, you guys could see the boss if he was walking through here. He's not quite here yet. So they've pulled a second group now, and they're still not doing anything to pull this group away from this ledge. They're just sitting here fighting. I mean, instantly upon aggroing that second group, they should have never been fighting down there to begin with, but as soon as they aggroed that second group, they should have pulled all that shit out, because if you're fighting right there, the second group wouldn't have aggroed because it didn't walk up far enough. If the druid hadn't gone down there, that pack would have just walked away. But the boss comes all the way past here, which means he's going to hit line of sight on you. When he gets somewhere around right here, he would see this group and join in the fight. So I don't understand why they're not moving better than they are.
Boss is coming too. Watch out.
Yeah, so now the boss gets in there and aggroes. Honestly, they've already killed one of the Mastiffs. This one here is super low level, just about to die. This one here has got a third of health, pretty low. But one of the problems that they have is Pirate actually pops a blizzard and starts getting aggro on some of this stuff because they're still fairly high health, and the tank hasn't hit them, got a lot of threat on them or anything. These Mastiffs hit really, really hard on anything that's not a tank. So having even one of these on a clothy, yeah, I mean, they're just going to melt through you super fast. But with this blizzard, he's probably has gotten the attention of a couple of them. I do know that he gets one of them that's coming after him. You can kind of see it here in a minute, where it's just staring straight at him and heading that way. But it ends up getting picked up by the tank, so everything is good. But I totally understand why Pirate starts backing up here a lot, because these things would just obliterate him.
Yeah. Well, I got shield wall.
So yeah, so now they got everything.
God damn it. Just run.
Okay, so you heard this guy. He just said run, I think 6 times. I had the number down yesterday, but I think he says it 5 or 6 times, and then it sounds like Ozzy is the other voice that's talking at that point, that he also just says, yeah, just run. So they have called to run. So when you tell people to run, it's time to go. You don't hang out there. You don't goof around. These guys are playing hardcore. If you get caught and you die, your character's done. You just lost, 30 hours of gameplay, hitting 60, and then all of the time that you spent since you've been 60 getting whatever loot you've got. So yeah, the goal should be to GTFO. Like, why they even stood around and tried to do anything beyond just running is beyond me. So here's the thing that I want to point out also. For those of you that have seen the video, 3 people make it out of here alive. Out of the 3 people, the tank is one of them. So with the tank getting out of here, that means that the rest of the DPS here basically did nothing. So you have your mage, your rogue, and your druid. They essentially did nothing in the tank surviving, which means the tank and the healer could have gotten out on their own. The problem that causes people to start dying wasn't even all of this, because honestly, they probably could have killed this if they'd have just stayed here and kind of buckled in, and they'd have been okay. But they decided to run. They called run. They called run a lot of times as they're moving across this path. They keep saying for people to keep moving and to run. So the fact that Pirate Radio ran, I mean, I would have done the exact same thing. No fucks given. I'd have been out of there. So, it is what it is. This guy was also really adamant about the fact that Pirate did absolutely nothing, didn't even turn around, didn't even help once a run was called. As you can see right now, run has already been called, because I've just stated that this guy called it a bunch of times. Everything in this pile is chilled right now. The chill doesn't last for much longer, but they were just hit with a blizzard. Why is everyone not running to gain distance on these things right now while they're still chilled? So that's another problem.
Can you target dummy?
So they drop a target dummy. So the target dummy gets the attention of everything. So they were chilled, dropped a target dummy, means they're swinging slower, less time for them a bigger amount of time before they're going to deal with that target dummy, and they're just going to haul ass out of here. They had plenty of time to get a good distance away and just get out of there. As you can see, the druid is not over here. Well, he's jumping through the air right now, but he is kind of behind the rest of the group, and just keep an eye on that.
I can target dummy.
So for whatever reason, he stops and drops out right there. I don't know if he thunderstomps or what he does, but he dropped out of form. My only guess is that he thunderstomps. I can't remember the cooldown on thunderstop, but he does it again up here. And I was wanting to think it had a longer time between it than that. I thought it was more like a minute cooldown, or maybe even 2, but I could be wrong there. It's been a long time since I've played a Tauren, unfortunately. But yeah, so he drops out of form for whatever reason, which puts him even further behind.
So yeah, target dummy.
Once the camera turns around here, so you can see the druid is like way back here now. One of the comments was, why didn't Pirate just shackle and just ice shackle? Personally, I think any mage that uses ice shackle as a way to try to save their group is a fucking idiot and should not ever be in a group with other people. The only thing ice shackle does is locks everything in place, which, yeah, that's great if you already have space away from them and you're just trying to get away. Yeah, they can't move and you can get away. But if he ice shackled this right now, all of these things would just turn around and alpha strike that druid because they ignore threat once they have been shackled, unless the thing with the most threat is in range of them. But if the warrior is not up there tanking them to where they're all still able to hit him, then they will just turn and hit whatever is in melee range, which right now is that druid, and that druid would have just been splattered. He's in cat form. He flops back into cat form to get away. Defenses on cat form are garbage. So he didn't even flop to bear, where he may have, survived getting out of there had they been shackled. But the concept of shackling at this point is just stupid because people were too close to being on top of these things, and it's a really good chance that it would have just instantly obliterated someone. So the fact that he didn't shackle there, I think, was a good idea. And he's never going to shackle again after that because he was never close enough to them again.
No.
Aussie, are you fine? Any grenades, anything?
I got last stand.
So
heal him.
Here's the next big thing too, is this guy is just like, he's constantly saying shit, saying to heal stuff. It's like, dude, you're not the fucking healer. The healer knows. The healer can see health bars. Healer, I guarantee you, is paying attention to who is high in health and who isn't. You don't need to be yelling at people like that. I mean, it's not even necessarily the fact that it's yelling. It's the fact that he's on comms running his mouth. He's already the guy that called run many, many times, and then everybody else was just like, yeah, okay, run. He should have never opened his mouth and said to run to begin with. That should have been the warrior or the healer's call, not his call. He's a fucking rogue. Nobody gives a shit whether or not you're a pussy little bitch. Fucking go stand in a corner if you're worried about it. Hit vanish and sit there and watch until you're happy that you're not going to get your, you're not going to get your shit pushed in. So, whatever this dude's problem is, I don't know. Kind of a moron. But yeah, the other thing I want to point out as well is he's also the primary person that complains about Pirate not staying and helping. This dude stayed near them the whole time, but he never did anything. He's sitting here at 37 damage from the point that they've run across. When Pirate got to this point, I forgot to point this out just slightly previous in the video. He did stop and turn around and drop a 1-tick blizzard. It was a max rank blizzard. It obliterated his mana because he was already down to 1400 mana at the point. So one max rank blizzard, he had basically nothing left over for mana. And that was a bad call on his side. He could have done that better, sure. But this is kind of unorganized. This is extremely sloppy, and he was just probably just made a poor judgment call there. It's unfortunate, but shit happens. But he did stop and drop a blizzard. So the fact that this dude's like, oh, Pirate didn't even try to do anything. He did try to help. What he did notice though was that this boss absolutely was having none of the chill effect, and he didn't want to hang around to get smacked by it. So he took off. He was gone. And once again, don't blame him. The rogue has sprint, which is really fast. He already has a gap here, so if he pops sprint, heads to the zone, he's not getting caught. On the off chance that something else went sideways, he can also vanish, instantly free. Nothing is going to hurt him at that point. So he is the safest person in this entire group right now. Pirate, on the other hand, is a clothy. He's super squish, and the best thing that he's got is an ice block, which basically just stops things from attacking you for a moment. But if this stuff got up on him and he ice blocked and then his party ran past him, well, once they get to the zone out and leave, then all these things are going to turn around and come back to Pirate, and he has no defenses, nothing to really be able to do to solve the problem. I mean, I guess he arguably could invis, but yeah, I mean, it's just he doesn't have a whole lot of ability to keep himself alive. And the only other thing that he's got is Blink, and Blink is it's not as fast as a Hunter's aspect of the cheetah. So he probably isn't going to get caught, but he can't let the stuff get up on top of him, because if he gets hit once, he's kind of screwed. So, and this guy is complaining like, oh, why didn't you rank 1 Blizzard? Why didn't you rank 1 Cone of Cold? Blah, blah, blah. Why didn't this guy blind literally anything other than the boss? Like, he waits all the way until he gets to the zone out and tries to blind the boss and goes, oh, I couldn't blind him. It's like, yeah, no shit. How long have you been playing Rogue and you don't know that you can't fucking blind bosses? I've never raided on a Rogue. I leveled 1 to 60 and that was it. I could tell you that you can't blind a boss. So you've got, Kidney Punch. You can get a really nice long stun out. He could have hit so this is the big thing I would have done if I was this guy and he was actually, clutch and could do anything like the way that he talks that Pirate should have done things. Is why did this guy, you've got 2 casters that are coming at you, and they're repeatedly spam casting Ice Bolt on the warrior, which is causing the warrior to take a whole lot longer to get out of this zone. So why did this guy not go over there and blind one of those casters and then just kick the other one? Ozzy has 1.3k damage, 81 DPS. He didn't get that by hitting a single target as a warrior wearing a shield. He's hitting multiple targets at this point, so he has some threat on all of them. So why is this guy not doing more to help out? He could have blinded one ogre and then kicked the ice bolts on the other ogre until they got a lot closer to the zone in. When blind ended on the first ogre, he could then kidney punch it and get a little bit more of a stun length in there while continuing to try to kick as much as he could on the ice bolts. He's not going to be able to get every single one. This isn't wrath kicking where you can just spam it and it's no big deal. That you do have a little bit of a cooldown, if I'm not mistaken, for vanilla era. But he could have mitigated a lot of the ice bolts that were getting thrown at the warrior, and these guys could be a lot further along here. And if that was the case, this next thing that's about to happen probably wouldn't have happened either.
Heal him!
Yeah, you just heal me? Just come back a little bit?
So as we get down here, this is the other thing to note if you guys didn't watch the earlier part of the video. So normally when you're coming from the zone in, you come down the hallway and you turn right in here, there's a corner. And this is the first opening that you come to in order to get into this room. They came up through this one. And if you're going to come up this way, you'd have been better off staying on the ground and just going down the hallway there instead of coming up and fighting up here. You have much better control going down that way. You've got a rogue and a druid with you. Either one of them could have stealthed up to the middle, grabbed the chest, and then come back to the group, and you would have not had all of this, like these weird paths and stuff that are moving around that you have no idea where any of them are when shit goes sideways. And that's the other problem too, is when you're playing hardcore, like if you're playing on a normal server, you don't really worry about contingencies and like, oh, I need an escape plan. But when you're playing hardcore, if shit goes sideways, you need to get out, and it's usually a good idea to know what the best path is to get out. And I mean, in my opinion, the best path would be the one that was clear and had nothing that you had to worry about pulling in it. So I don't understand why they came up through this hallway, but then didn't clear the trash in the way that actually paths around there. They would have been better off coming on down this way and coming up through this hallway that they're trying to leave through right now, which they haven't gone through at any point up to here, which means none of it is clear and none of it is safe.
On me, sitting bear form.
Snuppy, just run.
I can help a lot. Yeah.
So they just told Snuppy to run again. They're like, Snuppy, just run. So even more indication that Pirate Radio was looking one direction and running, had no idea where the rest of the people were at. The last time that he stopped and dropped a blizzard, they were all right there with him, and then they all decided to stop and screw around at the top of the ramp instead of just running at full speed. So he's running in a direction, and then here's Ozzy say, Snuppy, just run. So I mean, I would have done the same thing. I'm watching straight ahead. We're all supposed to be running. I turn, drop a blizzard. You guys are running. I turn and keep running. I hear someone tell another person in the group to keep running. So, like, why would you stop running at that point?
Yep.
Pirate, why are you walking, bro?
So here's where we get into the next problem. And remember how I said this druid doesn't deserve to be in this group right now? They should have just deleted him from this group. So here's he has double bad problems here.
What are you talking about?
This is savageable. Come on, man.
Get closer and closer.
Just kill the master.
Innovate.
Use snowball,
So
bro. Come on.
he's trying to get some heals and stuff going on. I don't understand why they're stopping and trying to heal. It's like, just keep moving. It's like, why is the rogue even over here at all? He's not helping. He's not doing anything. All he's doing is just running his mouth, which is creating more chaos so that people that are trying to do things can't communicate well. I know some people talked about Innervate being an issue in regards to Pirate not casting more stuff. If they would have popped the Innervate on Pirate and they were going to still try to do the run out, Sarah would have run out of mana, and this would have been a much different story. This warrior probably would have died a lot sooner than being able to get, like the warrior would have died, and then everybody else would have started dying off instead of what happened, which is what we're about to see here. So you can already see the druid was over here casting spells, and then for whatever reason just decides to jump this direction. So right down in this area here, there are 3 mastiffs that hang out. And then if you go slightly more over to the right, there is a patrol that's coming down this hallway. And they have no idea where that patrol is at right now because they didn't clear up through here, and they're just running for their lives right now. You can just tell by the way most of them are looking, like the direction of their heads and everything, that they are not looking in the direction of that hallway to see where the ads are. And then this dude just randomly jumps in this direction. Not to mention that Yamato himself was really close to this area, and if this patrol back over in this corner had been closer, he would have aggroed the patrol. Then he moves, he's clearing on over to the left, but then the druid jumps over there, which is also a chance to pull that pat. And this is actually where most people think that this pat was pulled at, but it's not true. That's not when it happened. So the warrior is doing exactly what he should be. This is an unknown section over here. He's hitting this wall, and he's trying to hug this corner and get out. Every single one of these people should have done the same thing. Pirate did that when he went through. He aggroed nothing. And the warrior's doing it. I don't understand why the other guys aren't. So now your druid's landed. So the next thing that the druid's going to do is he's going to run in, and here's where he's going to do the other war stomp that I was saying, which is why I don't understand why he got out of form at the top, because I don't think his war stomp would have refreshed that fast. I could be wrong, but it was off screen, so I don't know what he did up there. It was just speculation. But he's going to run in here and war stomp to stun daze this stuff at the moment. But then for whatever reason, he flops into cat form, and he's standing right about here. And instead of just running straight for this corner and getting the hell out of here, he does this like crescent moon shape, running right back through almost exactly where he's standing right now, which is actually when that patrol that's coming over here gets aggroed.
Sense of
war stomping. War stomping.
You see my mana? What am I?
See there. So he popped the ability there, turned into a cat, and then is running out and around this way for whatever reason. Maybe he's trying to avoid a cleave because he is close to half health, but still going over here in the direction of more enemies, not a good idea. So he didn't know. He had no situational awareness on the other side. Pulled the second pack. He has no situational awareness here. He pulls a third pack.
supposed to do for you.
Just kill the mastiffs. One shot.
And this is why I say that when he did the jump backwards is not when this stuff was originally aggroed, because the ogre starts casting a spell on this guy as soon as he aggroes. The two mastiffs just get in a full-blown run straight at him. The mastiffs move pretty quickly, and if they would have aggroed when he jumped backwards, all of the time that we have seen here, those two mastiffs would have been on top of him already, and you would see them in the picture, but they're not here yet. So the aggro happened when this druid was standing right about here.
Okay, we
More
can
than on the way. More on the way.
And then there's the first mastiff coming in from off the edge of the screen. And he's being cast at by the ogre still. Now, the big problem that you have here is the only one that has aggro on these new creatures is Snuppy. He's the only person with any aggro on him whatsoever. And the aggro is nothing more than proximity aggro, which is the lowest form of aggro in the game. So the threat that's generated by that, I don't know the number, but we'll just say for now it's 1. Because, I mean, it really is just nothing more than a, hey, I'm here, okay, we're coming after you. There's no real threat generation behind that. So the issue that we run into now is the warrior is facing the other direction, doesn't realize that there's a pull. Snuppy didn't bother saying, oh, hey, I pulled another pack, so no one still knows, and the healer is trying to keep the warrior alive. You can see a big heal went off because the warrior was just at approximately 50% health, and now he's at about 90%. So what happens whenever you heal something? You generate threat. What happens when you generate threat against targets that have 1 point of threat generation against something else? You pull threat. So that healer just aggroed all of that new stuff that came. You're going to see the ice bolt come out and hit Snuppy, because once they've started casting, they're not going to change targets, so it finishes its cast on Snuppy. But those mastiffs, they weren't casting anything, so they instantly switch targets. You can already see Sarah's health is down, has already taken a hit. And then as soon as I unpause, it's just chunk,
The mastiffs can be
chunk,
ice novas.
chunk. They're getting dazed. They got a
Now we're
bubble
gonna
up
wait.
trying to
Hey,
stop
Sarah?
it. Nothing.
No.
They can't outrun. Chunk, chunk, dead.
Okay, get
It's
out,
over.
get out.
Run, run.
And then Snuppy is back there in the middle of the pile. Well, the only thing that had aggroed the things that Snuppy had originally aggroed was the priest. Well, guess what? The priest is dead, so that threat is null and void. So now they turn back on Snuppy. And yeah. So they end up
Evocation's on
taking
cooldown,
out
man.
Snuppy as well. He gets
I can taunt last.
how much mana is-
cleaved and
is
potentially dazed
There's
coming
no
out
one said
here,
much
but then
mana.
he just gets a pile of stuff
You
on
have
him.
a boss in you. You called
Getting
run.
slowed.
and ran.
Fuck. Wait.
Anything?
I
Oh, he
cannot-
actually
Snuppy.
may
I
have.
don't think-
He may have tried to
I
taunt
cannot- I
something, but he
cannot stun
definitely
him.
got dazed back
Also, I
there.
got-
Just run.
I think he was trying to
now.
help save the warrior,
Are you good, Aussie?
which I mean, at least is admirable. He went out, trying to resolve the problem that he kind of caused. But yeah, like I said from the beginning, the initial problem was that the warrior screwed up. That shit should have never been tanked on a ramp to begin with. And then the druid not once but twice screwed up, 0 situational awareness, and pulled 2 extra groups because he has no clue what he's doing. Run was called on multiple occasions, and then for whatever reason, the group decided to slow down instead of continuing to move. At the end of the day, the warrior made it all the way to the end, and the priest died halfway through that transition. So halfway across that path, the priest died. Once the priest was dead, the warrior was still able to get all of the rest of the way with very minor intervention and got out of the zone. Now, just imagine what would have happened if the moment that they called run, the mage blinked and ran, the rogue popped sprint and ran, and the druid popped sprint and ran. They would have all been out of there. They would have not been in the way. The priest would not have been wasting mana trying to heal the druid because he kept going into bear form and trying to taunt stuff to get it off of the warrior to try to spread out the damage. And the druid could have just popped an innervate on the priest before they left, and all 3 of them sprinted to the zone in. I guarantee you that warrior and that priest would have made it all the way to the end and would have been perfectly fine. because they were calculated in how they were exiting, and they would have not pulled that third group that the druid pulled as they were trying to get out, which is what ultimately killed the priest. So if the warrior was able to make it all the way to the door from that point with no priest, then they would have been able to make it to the door perfectly fine with a priest. And that priest wasted a whole bunch of their own mana putting barriers up on themselves, trying to survive because of where they pulled healing aggro from Snuppy pulling something he should have never been anywhere near. So these are all of the issues that I have seen with this group in general, and I don't see in any way, shape, form, or fashion that any of that stuff had anything to do with what Piratesoftware did, other than him not saying, why are you guys fighting this shit on the ramp? Pull it up. But every single person in the group is responsible for that. You know, that they're or I should say they're all guilty of that. The warrior should have just done it automatically. He didn't. Literally anyone else in the party should have said, hey, pull this stuff up the ramp. That, like, this is dumb to fight this here. And that would have solved the problem. So now let's get on to the side of what happened with Pirate. So I don't have his video pulled up anymore, unfortunately, so I'm just going to have to do this from memory. But he's got a couple of bags open on his screen, and roughly in this position here, he had what a lot of people were saying was a mana pot. He actually had next to it a Minions Scourge Stone, an Invader Scourge Stone, and a Corruptor Scourge Stone, which are the 3 Scourge Stones that you get from killing undead in Strathholm, in various places in Plaguelands, but, you know, Skolo, whatever. But the potion that was next to it was most likely Strathholm Holy Water, because it was right there next to the other things that come out of Strathholm. It was also the exact same design. There is a mana pot that is designed like that, but I'm wanting to think that that mana pot is actually slightly darker in color. I haven't actually gotten into the game and put the two side by side to see for sure, but that is definitely not what the top end mana potion looks like. So he did not have a mana pot in his inventory. His evocation was on cooldown. But the two big things that most people noticed was right around here in his screen, he had I think it was the Robes of the Magi. I forget what the name of it's called, but anyways, they have a click effect to give yourself some mana, and then immediately next to that, he had a mana gem that was unused. And you could tell that it was unused because it had a number 1 in the bottom right-hand corner, which indicates that that is a shortcut to the item and not a shortcut to the spell itself. The spell was actually over in this vicinity on Piratesoftware's screen, and every time he casts a spell, you could actually see it go on global cooldown, but the Mana Stone does not go on global cooldown, and the 1 down there definitely indicates that that's what it was. When Pirate got close to the zone out, he did stop at that point and turn around to see what was going on and realize that no one was anywhere near him. That's when you started hearing him say, I don't have any mana, what do you expect me to do? He does slightly turn his head, which makes me feel like, I mean, you watch me if I'm looking at the camera now, but when I'm looking at my screen, my head turns. So my guess is he looked to see what his chat was saying, and they were like, hey, man, you got a Mana Stone right there. Because then he takes his cursor from somewhere up here and goes down to just above the Mana Stone and then moves his cursor. And my guess is at that point, what he's thinking is, oh, fuck, I do have one. So he just didn't realize that he had it. And, you know, when shit goes sideways like that, sometimes that happens. It doesn't necessarily matter how good of a player you are. And a lot of people are talking about like Oppie and various other mages or just other people from other classes and stuff like that in general. And they're like, oh my God, watch this video of Oppie doing this amazing thing where, you know, where he saves his whole group. It's like, yeah, let's just get a recording of the entire time that he's been playing his game from start to finish. And I guarantee you at least once in there somewhere, he fucked up and made a mistake. And no, he didn't, you know, why would you make a video of that and post it up where you did this really cool thing by forgetting that you had a Mana Stone? No one's going to fucking do that. So yeah, just the fact that this dude just happens to have some videos posted up where he did this really cool clutch thing. I've done kick-ass clutch things in my life as well. Pulled shit out of my ass to make, to make a raid team successful on something or saved a group by using traps and feign death and all kinds of other abilities on my hunter, sending pets in to get aggro, all kinds of stuff. I've done shit like that all the time. I've also done a bunch of fucking huntard shit in my life as well, and I guarantee you if I had the choice of which ones I was going to record, it's the ones that make me look really good and not the ones that make me look really stupid. So the fact that this was all made into a big deal and caught on video, and this was the time that Piratesoftware screwed up, I'm not willing to crucify the dude and say, oh, he's a shitty mage player, he's horrible at this game and has no idea what he's doing, because you happen to catch one of the times where he made a mistake. People make mistakes. It's human. It's just the way it works. Kind of like me fucking up my video that I recorded yesterday and having to re-record this whole video now. It happens. So I really wouldn't hold that against him. What I can say is he did have some options, some things he could have done. He should have never cast the rank 4 Blizzard when he was at the top of the ramp. He should have been using rank 1 Blizzard. I definitely feel like even though he was running and facing the other way the whole time and people kept reinforcing the fact that he needed to keep running, when he got to the end and was standing outside of the zone a little bit and then turned around and saw no one was near him and then realized that he had a mana stone, he still never used it. And he had 452 mana, I believe, at that point. You can cast rank 1 Blizzard for less than 452 mana, if I'm not mistaken. Never played a mage in a raid environment. I don't know them that well, so I can't tell you exactly how much rank 1 Blizzard costs, but I'm figuring it's well less than 500 mana, probably maybe 175, 200-ish. He definitely could have cast one. Why at that point he didn't head back towards the corner and drop one Blizzard just to get the Mastiffs and the other ogres off of the team that was trying to get out, I don't know the answer to that one either. So I will definitely say as a team player, he failed his group because he didn't do any of those things. I don't think he's a shitty player because of it, and I definitely don't think he deserves all the flack that he's getting out of it, especially considering the fact that everything that led up to this was poor pulling on the Warriors' behalf and an absolutely ignorant druid that is either new and shouldn't be here or just sucks at the game and shouldn't be there. Either way, those three things were far more significant than anything that Pirate did. And this guy right here as well, he did nothing on the way out except for whine and run his mouth the whole time, which stopped other people from being able to communicate. And he could have done plenty of things like blinding ogres, blinding mastiffs, stunning ogres, kicking ogres, all that stuff he could have done, and most of it would have had very little impact on his threat. And he wouldn't have had to, he wouldn't have had to worry about the stuff getting pulled off of the tank. And even if it did, he still had sprint, he still had vanish. He was safe. He was not going to die. But he chose to do nothing but then whine at Pirate when Pirate basically did the same thing. It was just more obvious because he was in a full-blown run, whereas this guy was just watching this train wreck in slow motion. I personally think that this guy is worse off than what Pirate was because he was hanging back and not doing anything. At least with Pirate, it's like he was told to run and he chose that and did it. And he stuck with it. And it's like this guy was sitting right there with everyone and literally doing nothing to help. I would have thought much worse about Thor if he was standing right there with everyone and not dropping blizzards and stuff. It's like it's a little more understandable that he wasn't dropping blizzards because he was half a zone away. So like I said, I don't understand why people went so nuts about this, but I wanted to release my own video about it. I really wanted this out yesterday, but I just knew I saw some things that the other streamers didn't see in the videos that they made, like the initial extra pull happening from the druid being down the ramp, attacking from behind like an idiot. And then also the point at which he actually aggroed the other ones. It was a minor point. He aggroed them. It happened. But a lot of people were saying it was when he jumped down the ramp, but it was actually when he turned into a cat and ran around again, which just goes to show that much more that he was clueless because he screwed up the exact same way twice in the exact same spot. He's like, oh, let's jump down the ramp. Now I'm going to run back up, turn into a cat, and then run back down the ramp in the same fashion. So, either way, it was all bad. And then the fact that this rogue didn't pull when he was standing at the bottom of the ramp entirely too close to where that patrol would be, it was just blind luck that they didn't happen to be there at the time. It could have easily been this dude. He's too busy, like gnawing on his fucking arm because he's a retard or something. I don't know. I just don't get it. But yeah, that's basically my take on what happened in this dungeon, and hopefully this kind of sheds some light on where the real problems with this group were going. And like I said, I'm not rushing to Thor's defense. There's definitely some questionable things that he did that a lot of people have pointed out at this point, and it's bad when people have you on record talking and saying, oh yeah, this is why the mage class is so awesome, and these are all the cool clutch things you can do to save the class, or to save your group, and then you get in that situation and you're just like deer in headlights and accomplish none of it. I mean, you can throw that back to those who can't do teach. Maybe that's his problem. He is very knowledgeable of the game. I will definitely give him that. I haven't seen him play enough to know if he's really good at the game, but he definitely understands what he should be doing. I'm willing to chalk this one up to, it was just a couple of bad decisions. He may have also been looking at this as he may have seen the majority of the things that I saw and was like, these guys are idiots, but I'm live on stream and I don't want to call them a bunch of retards and start a whole bunch of drama, but I definitely don't want to die trying to save any of these guys. I'm just going to, get the fuck out of here. So that may have been the opinion that he had as well. That's 100% the opinion that I would have had. But I also would have, spoke up a little bit more and been like, why are you guys not pulling the shit up ramps? So anyways, I think I've gone on long enough with this. This is a significantly shorter video than the first one, and hopefully it's a little more concise. Just in general, I don't have as much dead space in here, but yeah, this video is a lot of fun to make. If you enjoyed the video, definitely hit the like and subscribe. Come back and see me when I'm live. I don't play WoW as much as I used to anymore. Right now, I'm basically just playing Season of Discovery, primarily because several people from my old classic guild that I was raid leading for roughly 3 years. We created a small guild on one of the servers when SOD first hit, and when we decided to shut the guild down and stop progression in classic content, just for like lack of interest from the community in general and making it difficult to get new recruits and refill people that were getting burnt out with the game and leaving. These guys all just decided, hey, you know what, we don't want to look for a new guild, so they just went over to SOD and started playing, and they came up with a point to where they needed a tank, so I decided to go and play with them for a little bit. I actually took a couple of month break off of the game, so that's really the only SOD that I'm doing, or the only WoW I'm doing right now is SOD. If you want to see that gameplay, I do raids every Thursday night. I just tank for them. I'm not anything special, not raid leading for them, but I do talk a lot of shit about them because I know a bunch of them. So it's pretty fun. And you guys can come and watch me do some stupid stuff because I'm playing SOD and it's face roll easy. So I don't play at the level that I always do. So you can come in and pick me apart and talk about what a retard I am. I'm perfectly fine with that. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys thought about how all of this went down. If you think that Yamato here is right in calling out Pirate for being a shitter when he basically did the exact same thing, or if you think you saw something else that none of the rest of us saw, call it out in the comments and let us know. Let me know what you think just about the whole event in general, and then like I said, come and see me live. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Like I said, hit that like and subscribe. Come back and see me in the future. Have a great night.